If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high-quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson. Now part of the VSIN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Ben Wilson. He does amazing work here at the network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. And I know that he does a lot of our live betting shows. I know that he is just absolutely amazing on so many different fronts, whether that be with his play-by-play broadcasting in baseball, college basketball, tennis, so much more. And I know that he's doing an amazing job looking at this NL Central race. He, much like myself, from the great state of Wisconsin, so we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about what we've seen here in the first 6 or so weeks of the baseball season as well. And then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, Larry CM, the Amy does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but everything that is brought to you by Edge Boost. Over at Edge Boost, they make sure that bettors are able to access their funds every single day for all their gambling-related transactions. When you go to edgeboost.bet, you're able to type in the promo code of Greg as well, GREG. That gives you a $1 match on your first $25 deposit. That's over at edgeboost.bet, promo code GREG. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Sunday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The day starts off with the New York Mets being able to get the job done against the Chicago Cubs. Cubs, highest scoring team in baseball entering into Sunday, but held down by the New York Mets, this by a count of 6-2, as for the Metropolitans, Griffin Canning was able to give another nice start, gives up a solo home run over the course of 6 innings as Pico Armstrong, now home run number 10 of the campaign, and Matthew Boyd, he gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, did allow a bomb in this one, as going deep off of him, it was Mark Vientos for home run number 5 of the campaign, and then Francisco Lindor and Brandon Nimmo were both able to get home runs off the bullpen. Gavin Hollowell gives one up to Nimmo, home run number 8 of the campaign, and Hodge to Lindor, 9th home run of the season. Hodge gives up 3 runs in a third of an inning, and Hollowell a solo home run in 2/3 of an inning. Brad Keller, he was able to give you a scoreless inning, and for the Mets, rock solid in terms of the bullpen. Reed Garrett gives up a run in an inning, but Ryan Stanek, Edwin Diaz, they close out the 8th and 9th innings. The St. Louis Cardinals all of a sudden are just a game back of the Chicago Cubs as well. They get the job done, and now they are 22 overs, 17 unders, and 2 pushes. After this under 6-1, they take down the Washington Nationals as Mackenzie Gore does indeed get gored, giving up 4 runs in 6 2/3 innings, including a pair of bombs. Going deep was Mr. Wilson Contreras, his 6th home run of the campaign, and Lars Nootbaar, his 6th as well, and then Nolan Arenado off of Brad Lord, his 4th home run of the season. Oh, Lord for Brad Lord, giving up 2 runs, a homer over the course of his inning of work. Andrew Chafin and out of the bullpen scoreless, and Zach Brzezinski, he was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. Lone form of offense for Washington was Nathaniel Lowe, being able to get his 7th home run season off of Miles Michaelis, who was dealing once again 5 of the 3rd innings, allows that solo home run. Steven Matz, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Phil Matone, John King, they're both able to end a scoreless inning. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, they can Chris Sheldon, and all of a sudden they've been able to get a few wins. 4-3, they take down the Atlanta Braves as Chris Sale gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were in 5 2/3 innings, and from there, Angel de los Santos, he gives you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Aaron Bummer, a scoreless inning, and then Rossiel Iglesias in the 9th inning allows the walk-off, shall we say, ground out from Joey Bart. And for the Atlanta Braves, just 1 of 3 with men in scoring position. Not a ton of opportunity here as Carmen Molzinski was able to give you 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Tanner Rainey did allow 3 runs without getting it out of the bullpen, but Ryan Baruchi, 2 scoreless innings. Joey Wentz out of the bullpen scoreless. And Dennis Santana, he was able to end a scoreless inning as well. For the Milwaukee Brewers, they do end up getting the job done against the Tampa Bay Rays. This by a count of 4-2 as Chad Patrick gives up 2 runs in 4 1/3 innings. From there, Tyler Alexander, 5 outs of the bullpen scoreless. Abner Uribe, Yo Piams, Trevor McGill, they're all able to end a scoreless inning. And then for the Tampa Bay Rays, Drew Rasmussen gives up 3 runs over the course of 5 innings, including a pair of bombs, as Christian Yelich's 7th home run season and William Contreras his 4th home run of the campaign. But from there, Mason Montgomery a scoreless inning, Garrett Clevenger, Manuel Rodriguez, they both combined for a scoreless inning. Eric Orze, he was able to give you a inning, but gives up a run along the way. And Cole Sulzer, scoreless inning of his own. You did have the Blue Jays go on the road. They get the job done against the Seattle Mariners, this by kind of 9-1. And all of a sudden, Seattle's actually the best over team in all of baseball. 24 overs, 13 unders, and 2 pushes for the Jays. George Springer, 5th home run of the campaign. That's off of Bryce Miller. And then home run number 1 of the season for Edison Barger. He goes deep off of Colin Snyder. For Snyder, he's able to supply 2 innings, but gives up 2 runs, including that bomb. And for Bryce Miller, he was nicknamed Hickory in this game because he got smoked for 7 runs in 5 innings, including that bomb. And then Troy Taylor, Luis Rivas, that is a position player, both on a scoreless inning. And you did have Dylan Moore give you more 7th home run season. That comes off of Jose Arena, who gives up that home run in his 2 innings of work. But Eric Lauer, the bulk guy, 4 2/3 innings scoreless. Uriel Rodriguez, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless. And you did have a scoreless inning as well out of Braden Fisher in his MLB debut. And a lot of scoreless innings supplied by the LA Dodgers. 8-1. They take it to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Zach Gallen has been filling up the amount of runs that he's been given up at home this season. 4 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings. You had 2 runs allowed in 2 innings by Jose Castillos. He lost a home run, and Joe Mantiply gives up a home run in his 1 1/3 innings of work as Freddie Freeman, his 9th home run of the season. Mookie Betts, his 6th. And Tony Gonsolin, coming off of injury, has looked rock solid. 5 scoreless innings. Ben Casparis was able to give you a 1 1/3 inning appearance. He does allow a run along the way. Tanner Scott, Matt Sauer, they both give you a scoreless inning. And then Jack Dreyer was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. For the Baltimore Orioles, they do a solid job taking it to the LA Angels. This by a count of 7-3. For the Halos, you had Tyler Anderson give up 3 runs in 5 innings, only 1 of which was earned. Hurt by a pair of errors out there in the field. And then Connor Brogdon. Man, not great for this Angels bullpen. 4 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning, as he did allow a home run in this one to Gunnar Henderson, 5th home run of the season. From there, you did have 3 1/3 innings scoreless from Sean Anderson, and you did have a first in this one as home run number 1 of the career of Matthew Lugo for the LA Angels. That comes off of Felix Bautista, who's in a non-safe situation. Gives up that home run in his inning of work, but Zach Eflin off the injured list, pretty solid. 2 runs allowed in 5 innings. Sir Anthony Dominguez, Brian Baker, Ynier Cano, don't you know, they were all able to end a scoreless inning. The overs out there in Sacramento continue to be hot, by the way. 12-2. The Yankees are able to find a way to persevere. They get the job done. If you're looking at Sacramento right now, they are at 14 overs to 7 unders in their home games this far this season. As for the Yankees, Ben Rice, he gets his 9th home run of the season in grand fashion. That comes off of Mitch Spence. As for the A's, not what they were hoping for out of Luis Severino, who gives up 8 runs in 4 innings. From there, you have Mitch Spence give up that grand slam. He inherited a runner or 2, gives up 3 runs over the course of 2 innings. You did have a run given up in an inning by Elvis Alvarado, who entered the building. TJ McFarland out of the bullpen scoreless. Hogan Harris, 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless as well. And then JJ Bleday off of Ryan Yarbrough gets his 5th home run of the campaign, but Yarbrough not bad in this one. Lost 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. Yuri De Los Santos really good in long relief, 3 scoreless innings. And then Tyler Madzik, he's able to give you a scoreless inning as well. The Colorado Rockies won a game. Someone call the papers. 9-3. They take down the San Diego Padres to go to 7-33, and Bud Black after the game gets canned. So go figure there. Nick Pivetta, he lost 6 runs over the course of 4 innings, including a home run. Going deep for Colorado was Mr. Hunter Goodman, his 6th home run of the campaign, and then you had Ryan McMahon get his 6th home run of the campaign. That comes off of Sean Reynolds, who allows that home run in his inning of work. You had Yuki Matsui, Alec Jacob, both lend a scoreless inning, and then Wandy Peralta, a pair of runs surrendered by him in his inning of work. And for Colorado, Germán Marquez, a really good start in this one, allows 1 run over the course of 7 innings on El Javili, 2 unearned runs given up in his inning of work. And Seth Alverson, he was able to come in for a scoreless inning of his own. For the San Francisco Giants, they are unable to pull it out against the Minnesota Twins, 7-6 in 10 innings. As for San Francisco, Landon Roop does give up 3 runs over the course of his 5 innings, including a home run to Brooks Lee, his 3rd home run of the campaign. From there, you did have Eric Miller come in, and he gave you a pair of runs allowed without getting a single out. From there, Camilo Duvall, scoreless inning. Hayden Birdsong, 2 scoreless innings. Tyler Rogers, a scoreless inning as well. But Ryan Walker gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in the 10th inning. As for the San Francisco Giants, Eloy Ramos was able to go deep off of Pablo Lopez for a 7th home run season. Mr. Lopez gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, or start of the season for him. But Louis Varlin, Danny Kalum, they both led a scoreless inning. Griffin Jacks, he gives up a run in an inning, but Yohan Duran, he was able to give up an unearned run in the 10th inning. That was enough for the team to be able to get the job done. The Astros were able to do enough to be able to get the job done, as well as they take it to the Cincinnati Reds, this by a count of 6-0. And for the Cincinnati Reds, just absolutely nothing doing from their young gun starter and Chase Petty. 4 runs allowed in 3 innings. Did lower his ERA from 34.71 to 21.94, so yay verily there, as he does allow a home run in this one to Yenier Diaz, 4th home run of the campaign. From there, the bullpen was not bad. Scarpello, 2 runs, 1 of which was earned, given up in his inning of work. Brent Suter, along with Ryan Richardson, both ended scoreless inning, and then you had Tyler Rogers give you 2 scoreless innings. Meanwhile, for the Houston Astros, they had Ronald Blanco dealing 11 punch-outs, 8 scoreless innings, and then Sean Dubin, he's able to give you a scoreless inning as well. The Texas Rangers have been your top under team in all of baseball this year. North of 2/3 of their games have gone under the total line. They do end up getting the job done here against the Detroit Tigers, this by a count of 6-1, as for the Rangers, they did a solid job with Nathan Eovaldi rocking 7 scoreless innings. From there, you were able to get a scoreless inning out of Chris Martin. Jacob Latz puts a few men on base, gives up a run in a third of an inning, but Robert Garcia gets the final 2 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. And for the Rangers, you were able to have a trio of home runs. Josh Young, his 4th home run of the campaign. Jonah Heim, his 5th home run of the season. And then Marcus Semien, his 3rd, as that Semien home run comes off of Reese Olson. Only 4 innings in this one, gives up 3 runs, all of which were earned. Bo Brisky from there gives up one of those bombs, 2 runs allowed in 2 innings. And Brant Herter gives up a home run in his inning of work. You did have, though, Brandon Hennefy and Chase Lee both be able to supply a scoreless inning as well. And then you were able to get quite a bit of good pitching out there in Kansas City, as the Royals, they do fall to the Boston Red Sox, this by a count of 3-1, as the Royals have really been a good under team as well. I was just mentioning the Rangers and the fact that right now, for them, they are at 27 unders, 13 overs, and a push. How about the Royals at 27 unders, 14 overs, and a push? As for Boston, Lucas Giolito was dealing 1 earned run, given up in 6 2/3 innings, and that came off of his own throwing error. But from there, Jacob Olson, he was able to give you a scoreless inning, Aroldis Chapman a scoreless inning, and Greg Weiser out of the bullpen scoreless. And for the Red Sox, pair of home runs, Rafael Devers, 7th home run of the season, and Weiler Abreu Wiles out for his 10th home run of the season. Both of those come off of Seth Lugo, who gives up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. Steven Cruz, Taylor Clark lend a scoreless inning, and then Daniel Lynch, John Schreiber, they're both able to lend a scoreless inning. And then the Miami Marlins were able to lend, well, not necessarily the world's greatest amount of production against the Chicago White Sox. 4-2, the Southsiders are able to get the job done in this one, as for Miami, 15-24 now for them this season, as Sandy Alcantara struggle again. 4 runs allowed in 5 2/3 innings, including a home run given up to Mr. Timothy Elko for his 1st home run of the season, while Sean Berkey only lasts 4 innings for the White Sox because he gave up 5 walks, but only allowed 1 run along the way. Mike Vasil has actually been really good at long relief, gives up 1 run over the course of 3 innings. Tyler Gilbert, Cam Bouger, they both had a scoreless inning. And then for Miami, you do have Ronnie Enriquez giving an out of the bullpen scoreless, and Anthony Veziano, Tyler Phillips, they're both able to end a scoreless inning. And then when it comes to Sunday Night Baseball, you did see the Philadelphia Phillies and the Cleveland Guardians have a massive struggle in this one, as for the Philadelphia Phillies, they do find a way to persevere. They do find a way to be able to get the job done, as Zach wheeling and dealing Wheeler, he was wheeling and dealing in this one. And for Luis Ortiz, well, he gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. He did allow that home run to Kyle Schwarber, 13th home run of the campaign. And it turns out to be a big giant difference maker in this one. And if you're looking at what we're all getting trend-wise in Major League Baseball right now, it has been a little bit of an underwhelming season, as the under is sitting at about 51.6%, 299 unders to 280 overs. Meanwhile, if you're looking at favorites this season, hitting at darn near 60%, 361 and 241 on the money line. Last 7 days, it has been relatively even Steven with that regard, 55 and 37 to the favorites on the money line, so just below 60%, and the under rate is sitting at about 52%, 47 unders to 43 over. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we all got on Sunday. Now let's take a look at what we're getting in the NL Central with our good friend Ben Wilson, who does amazing work here at VSIN, and he joins me next right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSIN Family Podcast.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger. Because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSIN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man as we've got Ben Wilson aboard. He does such an incredible job here at VSIN with all of our live betting shows. He also does incredible work with all of his play-by-play work, whether that be indoor football, whether that be college baseball, college basketball, tennis, you name it, he does it. Man is just a 5-tool player that you're able to find on Twitter/X at his first name, Ben_Wilson, and then an underscore and the number 1 altogether. And Ben, great to have you aboard. Thank you.
Greg, thank you as always for having me. I'm as excited as the Rays broadcasters were this weekend to talk about their first rain delay in franchise history. That's a good way of phrasing my feelings right now as we're into the baseball season.
Oh, man, it is just so wild. And how do you take a look at this Brewers team right now? Because obviously the Cubs have left everyone in the dust in the National League Central, but I think it's a very interesting dynamic between the St. Louis Cardinals, and, well, all teams not named the Pittsburgh Pirates, because the Pirates have been left for dead at this point despite having Paul Skeens. But it's a Brewers team that I just feel like has been a little bit inconsistent, and I've been very surprised at how the bullpen pitching has really fallen off a cliff this year.
I have too. It's been kind of classic based on not only on paper, but just the eye test. I mean, this feels in every respect like an 81 team. I mean, the way they're playing, there's just night in, night out, zero that carries over, it seems like, from one day to the next. And I think part of that is the depth is just not the same as it once was. And that's been manifested in how much the Brewers have been relying on guys, say, like Sal Frelick and Caleb Durbin, who in teams past would have been just awesome, utility guys to plug and play, to give the team sparkle. All of a sudden, those are guys sitting in the heart of your order because so few guys are producing above them, behind them, off the bench, in the starting lineup, however you want to phrase it. For a team that relies so much on intangibles and doing the little things well and taking the extra base, being clean in the field, I think on a very macro level, Greg, that's what's gotten this team into some trouble, just with those inconsistencies. Sure, you could say, okay, if Christian Yelich goes from hitting 190 to becoming more of a 275, 280 hitter the rest of the year, that might change things. But again, that's just one guy. I believe the problems are bigger than just, say, Yelich. Because when you have nights where Jackson Chourio has an off night, and he's been a little bit feast or famine, but still a guy who's given them tremendous pop and incredible excitement and energy day in, day out. But when he hasn't had a good night, or he hasn't really seen the opposing pitcher well, you look at the rest of their lineup and you're kind of like, geez, where's the offense coming from? And that's the biggest issue right now. And all the other sort of suboptimal or less than average aspects of the team, which you can throw the bullpen in there, the starting pitching depth, that stuff all gets magnified when you just can't rely on the hitting every night.
Yep, it certainly is. And with regards to hitting, it's just been so interesting, too, because I feel like there have been some nice surprises for this team. The way that Sal Frelick has been moved line has been tremendous. Ben, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but it's not necessarily that the Brewers aren't having a tough time getting on base. It's been more or less a power, because Jackson Chourio, along with Christian Yelich, entered into the weekend with 6 home runs. But you just expect a few more long balls out of the likes of William Contreras, and you expect a few more long balls out of Rhys Hoskins as well.
Yep, and I do believe it's a good sign for Hoskins. I mean, he was really in it, feeling a rut to start the year, couldn't make contact at all. But he's hit over 300 now the last week and a half or so. He's had a number of homers. But at the same time, they've got a little bit of Ricky Weeks syndrome to them, as it were, Greg. You'll understand this reference.
Oh, yes.
A lot of empty stats at times, like a lot of solo homers, when you're down 6-1 late, stuff like that. And so, yeah, even though the numbers on the surface might not seem all that bad, I've just had a hard time really believing that when it really matters. This Brewers team has lost a ton of one-run games so far. When it's in the clutch, when it matters the most, the ability to, and the confidence that you feel watching, whether you're betting on them, whether you're a fan, the ability to get that timely hit, I feel like has really taken a step back this year. Like many other teams in the Central, and we're seeing this right now with a team like the St. Louis Cardinals, who's kind of been the hot, informed team, not named the Chicago Cubs of the last few weeks right now. Now, you can have stretches where that all comes together. But again, when you're talking about a 162-game season, are those things just spurts, or are they actually repeatable and sustainable? And I'm just not believing that that's the case right now. Really, I mean, in this division, you think about that lump of teams, Cardinals, Reds, Brewers, you can probably say the same thing for all three of them. And that's really what has kind of encapsulated the struggles and the inconsistencies, and why all three are right around 500 as we're at the 40-game mark.
Yep, no question about it. And I do think that that's going to be an interesting dynamic moving forward. As joining me on the show, we do have Ben Wilson, who does such great work here at VSiN, joining me on the baseball betting show. And how about if we do talk about the team that's currently leading the NL Central in the Chicago Cubs, obviously coming off of shall we say, a little bit of a rough series against the New York Mets with the way that the Mets are playing right now. But how do you gauge a Cubs team that entered in the weekend #1 in all of baseball in terms of run scoring? But as we both know, with regards to this Cubs bullpen, much like the Brewers bullpen has struggled, they've had very similar issues.
They have, but you also go into this season and where they're at now knowing, unlike, say, a Milwaukee or some of the smaller market, less flexible budget-wise teams in the division, Chicago is 100% going to be spenders, and I would argue probably the biggest spenders. Even you take a look at teams like the Dodgers and the Mets. I mean, their payrolls are already so giant, and I don't really know what sort of holes they have to plug. I mean, if you watch those teams, they've kind of got answers everywhere. So Chicago's sort of those three right now that have been atop the NL. They're the one team that clearly can use some reinforcements in the bullpen, and they've clearly got the ownership and the investment strategy to do it. At the same time, I mean, I'm not too surprised, looking back and thinking about how year one went under Craig Counsell as a manager, that it took that year to kind of not get the rust outs. That's not the right word because it's a long season in baseball. But I think just for him to get comfortable putting in a lineup and putting in a structure that he thought would be most conducive to success. And you think on the surface, well, that should be easy, right? You've got a ginormous payroll compared to what you had in Milwaukee before. But there is definitely an art to that. It's not just about the money and the numbers. There's so much that Craig Counsell is brilliant at when it comes to intangibles and looking a little bit deeper below the surface. So my first real extended look at them was that series against Milwaukee, Greg, a couple weeks ago. And I mean, they checked every box, like the hitting, getting a breakout season like they have from Pete Crow Armstrong.
That's been amazing.
I don't see that. Yeah, I mean, look, he might not hit like over 350 all year, but that's still something that feels very sustainable.
And the 9 home runs too.
I know. And the swagger he plays with, like, it's undeniable that it's not just some April good story. It's a guy who's clearly found the confidence to a level that it can turn you into a MLB superstar, from a fringe player to the kind of guy he is now. So all that stuff to me seems good. And I would, if there's at all a dip to me for the Cubs this year, I'm sure, where we're seeing the market pricing them, it's hard to find a fair number or a number that's palatable as far as the minus money price and then to win the NL Central. But got to think, just like we saw with the Dodgers last summer, there will be a stretch where some arms get banged up and they go through a rough spell and lose a few series. If that is to happen and you get a number that comes down and it's not too big of a juice price delay, that is the time I'd do it on the Cubs. But I have a feeling we're going to be waiting for that to happen, Greg, and it won't really manifest itself in the way maybe you'd hope is a better.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's going to be a little bit difficult to be able to find, and it's going to be very interesting to see what we get on that from moving forward. As Ben Wilson, who does such great work here at VSiN, is joining me on the baseball betting show, and we've talked extensively about the NL Central, but are there other surprises that you've really been gauging through the first 6 to 6.5 weeks of the season, whether that be to the positive or the negative? Because now I feel like we're starting to get that sample size where we can take these teams for real. Typically, I like a little bit more towards Memorial Day, but we are coming up upon Memorial Day in about 2.5 weeks. Just when you take a look league-wide at baseball, has there been a team that you've had to really adjust your tune on?
I don't know that I've adjusted my tune a ton on San Diego because I think most people thought the Padres would be a really good team coming into the year. But anytime you're in a division with a team that is expected to win over 100 games going away easily in the Dodgers, and you're likely going to be a team having to go through the wild card side of it, and that always brings volatility and uncertainness because of the small sample size, you tend to get forgotten about. But to me, everything San Diego's doing is quite legit. And I actually was at the last start for Dylan Cease. I was at Yankee Stadium. I thought for a while I might get to see a no-hitter in person because he was awesome. Had the no-hitter into the 7th. A guy whose numbers were clearly a mirage. I mean, this is a pitcher who's way better than the inflated ERA indicated. And now that Cease has sort of gotten his sea legs under him, it's a bullpen that has so many good options that you just look kind of down the order there, Greg, at the sub-2 ERA guys that San Diego's able to throw out at you. Mike Schill has always been a solid manager who got a raw deal in St. Louis, and that was more of a political thing than actual performance or game manager type deal. So San Diego is going to be a really tough out in the postseason. They might have to go through the wild card round, but it's nice when you think about a team that's that good that is going to be such an afterthought in their own division simply because of what a juggernaut, behemoth, popular betting vehicle team that the Dodgers are. So that's the team. I don't think people should sleep on them whatsoever. And especially in some of these series, like I'll be fascinated when the next time they square up, when you get a Padres Cubs, and I know the Cubs did very well against San Diego in their first meeting at Wrigley, but Padres, Cubs, Mets, Dodgers, and those sorts of series, what the pricing is, because in a lot of ways, I do believe there will be some good value there at plus money prices in those sorts of matchups.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I think that that's going to be intriguing to look at. And just that entire NL West, I'm not sure how you view it, but man, the Colorado Rockies are right now well on pace for the worst record in the history of baseball. They have been completely left in the dust, but those other 4 teams, I think it's going to be an interesting race. And maybe I'm overstepping here, because in the NL East, you have to think that one of like the Phillies, the Mets, the Braves grab one of those wild card spots, but I don't think that it's completely out of the question that just all 4 of those teams, or at the very least 3 of those 4 teams, find a way into the playoffs.
I could totally see that. I mean, I've been a big Arizona backer. I've been a huge Brandon Pfaadt fan for a couple of years now. Always been someone I've invested in fantasy, just with his arsenal. And now that he seems like he's taken the next level as a guy who's super consistent every 5th day in the order. It's far from the only good arm, obviously, that Arizona has, but getting Corbin Burnes, now that he's kind of settled into the mix a little bit, I definitely think better days continue to be ahead for him in Arizona. So no, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I'm not totally sold on, Atlanta as they were awful in March/April. They'll just automatically figure it out. They'll find a way to get one of those 3 spots. When you actually start to break it down, I mean, the margin for error for Atlanta, especially with the hole they've dug themselves in, it's pretty small. So that sort of outcome of it being a 1-team NL Central, 1-team NL East representing the postseason, and then you get some sort of order of Padres, D-backs, Giants rounding out the wild card. Probably unlikely, but I kind of expect at the very least you get 3 NL West in there. And whether it's Philly or Atlanta, battling maybe with like a San Francisco, and that ends up being the race for the 3rd spot. It's very early, so you never want to hold yourself to the fire on a prediction like that with how random a wild card race can be, certainly in baseball, but that's how I totally expect it to generally play out.
Yep, I think that you say it so well there, and I do think that moving forward, that National League playoff race is going to be so intriguing, because that's where the balance of power is, and this show, it becomes so much more powerful when you're aboard, Ben. You do an incredible job taking a look at this amazing game of baseball, so love the good people at home know it's all on tap for you, and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Always appreciate it, Greg. I'm actually doing college baseball. The postseason starts, conference tournaments, and then into regionals here within the next couple weeks, so excited to see the future stars of tomorrow. I'll be doing the WAC conference, which has some really good teams like Grand Canyon, Utah Valley, and such. Be tuned for that. Those are all on ESPN, ESPN Plus, which is super easy to follow along with. Ben_Wilson_1 as always. So, and we'll continue to check it on the NL Central, Greg. Always a pleasure having me on. I appreciate you as always for the time.
And it's always great to be able to have Ben aboard. He is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to baseball, and every single time he joins me, lends such great insight. So big thanks to Ben for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSIN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we...
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSIN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Ben Wilson. He does such an amazing job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to Ben for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas tradition, or this is where we go through the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So how about if we do get things started with 901, 902 on the betting board? The St. Louis Cardinals are on the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Christopher Sanchez is on the bump for the Phils. Matthew Liberatore is on the bump for St. Louis. Right now, St. Louis finds themselves between plus 158 to plus 167 underdogs. Minus 185 to minus 190 is that number on the Phillies with a total of 8. The over is between minus 110 to a minus 115, and the under is between minus 105 to a minus 110. Now, there were some initial openers posted up, and a lot of books have not been posting up recent numbers, so that could indicate a little bit of pitching change. But assuming that we do get Liberatore versus Christopher Sanchez, did set my total at 8.3, so at an 8, I'm going to be looking at the over for Liberatore. I've actually been very impressed by what I've seen out of him thus far this season. Again, this is subject to a little bit of change if we do get a pitching matchup that is a little bit more wonky, but that said, for Liberatore, he's been a highly touted prospect for the last few seasons. He's up a little bit with regards to his swing and miss stuff, getting about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, allowing just 1.3 walks per 9, and has really done a nice job keeping the ball in the yard. 3.07 ERA, but a 2.34 fielding independent. But Christopher Sanchez has just been absolutely filthy when he's been at home over the last 2 seasons. Last year was posting up a sub 2.50 ERA with less than a half home run per 9 innings allowed at home. This season he's got a 2.89 ERA. Now he has been a guy that once again has been quite a bit better at home rather than on the road this season. The swing and miss stuff has been back up once again this season, as I do feel like he got a little bit fortunate on balls in play last season, but for some reason his sinker and his, shall we say, off-speed stuff has just been dancing much more when he has been at home rather than when he's been on the road. Thus far this season at home, he does have a 3.52 ERA, but at home he is also generating 13.3 strikeouts per 9 innings compared to 6.3 when he's been away from home, and I think that this is a very good pitching matchup for him because he is going up against Cardinals team that they do a good job of moving the line. They're not necessarily a team that's going to hit the deep ball, though. You do have Brendan Donovan, who's hitting above 300 for this unit. You've been able to get quite a bit of production out of Nolan Arenado in terms of moving the line, but his home run power and his just overall power has been down a little bit more this season. Additionally, you've been having quite a few guys stepping up, like Victor Scott is hitting about a 290. You are still without a few guys in this lineup, but just got back Ivan Herrera, who had 4 home runs in the first few weeks of the season, and Wilson Contreras is starting to pick it up as well. He's up to 6 home runs, 350 on base, but on the flip side, you do have yourself a Philadelphia Phillies team that I think that their power is going to be very much up. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies are coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. There's going to be travel involved, so that makes things a little bit more tricky on that front as well, but Kyle Schwarber, he's giving you 12-plus home runs, a 400 on base. Bryce Harper was able to hit a home run on Saturday. Still 350 on base, even though the average has been a little bit down. Nick Castellanos has been hitting about a 280. Juan Rojas, Armando Sosa are both hitting above a 300 at the bottom of the fold. Now, when it comes to the bullpen, it's been shaky for the Philadelphia Phillies, to say the least. Matt Strahm, along with Jose Alvarado, have been rock solid, but Ryan Kerkering is posting up well north of 4 ERA. You never know what you're going to get out of the guys like Jose Ruiz and company. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, it has been a bottom half of the big league team with regards to bullpen ERA, despite the fact that Ryan Elsley is rock solid stuff. And I believe that that's a little bit of an outlier. I think that guys like Jojo Romero and company are going to be able to pick it up. You've had some really good production out of Kyle Leahy with a sub-2 ERA as well. Ryan Fernandez has been a little bit shaky, though, so there's been that aspect of things. But I do think that for the Philadelphia Phillies, they should be a sizable favorite here. I like the way that Sanchez has pitched at home over the last few seasons, and I did set a run line price where I'm willing to take a plus 111 or higher. Right now I'm seeing that at plus 115, so we'll be looking there to go along with the over of 8. We've got 903, 904 on the betting board. The Pittsburgh Pirates on the road against the New York Mets, as David Peterson, great name, is on the bump for the Mets, and Paul Skeens goes for the Pirates, and the Pirates are an underdog of anywhere between plus 114 to a plus 119. Meanwhile, anywhere between minus 120 to a minus 135 is that number on the Mets, and the total on this game is 7. The over is minus 120, and the under is even, and did set the Mets on the money line at a minus 123. If you're looking to lay a run half, you're going to be getting as high as a plus 170, and I would be willing to take a plus 170 on that run line. And with David Peterson, he has been able to give you a little bit more swing and miss this year than he did 8 seasons ago. Last year, he was way down with his strikeout stuff, but he was able to do a nice job of keeping the ball in the yard. That has manifested itself this season. 8.5 strikeouts, 0.7 home runs per 9 innings this year. 3.05 ERA, 3.43 fielding independent. Might be doing for a little bit of regression with the 3 walks per 9 innings, but all in all, comes in relatively good form. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts, and Paul Skeens continues to be amazing. I know that there's a lot of bad that is going on with the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know that a lot of people want to make something out of his start 2 starts ago against the Chicago Cubs, where he gave up those 3 solo home runs, but I mean, this is still a man with the 2.77 ERA, 3.06 fielding independent, 9 strikeouts and 2.2 walks per 9 innings, less than a home run allowed per 9 innings. Outside of that start against the Chicago Cubs, he has given up 1 home run all season long. So, I mean, the issue here is not Paul Skeens. The issue is the rest of the schlubs on the Pittsburgh Pirates roster. As for the Pittsburgh Pirates, they had to make a manager change because they were just doing so bad in general. You've had Brian Reynolds give you a nothing burger thus far this season. season. Oneil Cruz is still giving you a relatively good, shall we say, approach at the plate. 369 on base, 8 home runs, so you like to see that. But I mean, outside of he and Brian Reynolds, nobody else is giving you north of 3 home runs this season. You've got so many schlubs out there like Alexander Canario, Jared Trollo, Henry Davis, Jack Swaniski, whole bunch of mix and match guys at the bottom of the lineup hitting below the middle sign of 200. Brian Hayes hasn't really given you too much of anything. Andrew McCutcheon's okay getting on base, but yeah, that has not been great to say the least. And then for the New York Metropolitans, Juan Soto has been able to give you 4 home runs over the last 11 days. The Mets additionally have been able to give you a lot of production at the top of the lineup with Francisco Lindor now hitting at 300. Pete Alonso, 434 on base. He's been able to do a nice job of supplying this team with 10 plus home runs this season. Lindor is up to 9 home runs himself. Brandon Nimmo not hitting for a lot of average, but he's been able to give you 8 home runs as well. And then Francisco Alvarez, since coming off the injury list, hitting above 300. This has also been a Mets bullpen that has been one of the better ones out there in the big leagues with the long guys doing a nice job. I still have my question marks with regards to the likes of Ryan Stanek, Reed Garrett, and everything like that, but that said, you've been able to get a lot out of someone like an Oscar Brazobin who's giving you a sub-2 ERA. AJ Minter has come in from the Atlanta Braves, and he's been able to do a rock solid job for the team as well, though he's now down and out for the count, so that's not great to say the least. But that said, you still have had Jose Buto be able to give you a sub-330 ERA as well. I like what these guys are providing, and on the flip side for the Pittsburgh Pirates, Colin Olderman has not been living up to his name. He has not been holding down anything. David Bennar over the last 12 months has been absolutely miserable for the team. I actually like the pickup of Joey Wentz, but I don't have a lot of faith in that bullpen. I do think that the Mets are going to start to accelerate a little bit more with regards to that offense. I think that they get to Paul Skeens for a few runs, but then really knife into that bullpen at a plus 170. We won't take shot on that run line, and I do like this total over. I set my total at a 7.3. 905, 906 on the betting board. The Washington Nationals hit the road. They're facing off against the Atlanta Braves. Grant Holmes is on the bump for the Bravos. Jake Irvin goes for Washington, and Washington does find themselves anywhere between plus 143 to plus 150 underdogs, anywhere between minus 165 to minus 175. Then I'm on Atlanta. 8.5 to 9 is the total. On the 9, unders minus 120. The over is even. On the 8.5, the over is minus 120. Under is even. If you're looking to lay a run half with Atlanta, you're going to be finding that at a plus 120, and I'd be willing to take a shot there. I'd be willing to go up to a minus 105 on that Braves run line. I fully recognize that Grant Holmes has not necessarily had the world's greatest start to the season, as he's posting up about a 4.66 ERA. Fielding dependent is relatively in line with that, and for our good friend of Mr. Holmes, he has given up 1.8 home runs per 9 innings, but the bullpen is a big, giant factor in this one. As the Braves, they're solid with regards to their bullpen. Desmond Hernandez has been able to step up for you thus far this season. You've got Rossi Iglesias, who's been a little bit up and down, but he's got some of the nastiest stuff that you're going to find out there in the league. Dylan Lee has been rock solid. This team overall 3.62 bullpen ERA, that's 12th in the league. Nationals dead last in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. Jackson Rutledge has been able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA. You've been able to have Kyle Finnegan give you some good innings. Lone 2 guys on the roster with a sub-4 ERA. Cole Henry has been a little bit okay with this bullpen, but a 7.13 ERA overall for this bullpen. That is dead last in the big leagues, and it's not like this Washington Nationals team is the Mona Lisa Vito of hitting either. For Washington, you've had Dylan Cruz hit below the middle sign of 200. I do like where you're getting on James Wood, 10 home runs, about a 375 on base. Nathaniel Lowe's come in. He's been able to give you 7 home runs as well. In the Keeper Ruiz, he's hitting about a 295. You've had good production out of CJ Abrams, who's hitting above 300 as well. So these guys have been able to do a rock solid job of being able to move the line. Amid Rosario hitting about a 280 as well in a limited amount of at-bats, but not really getting a lot of power outside of James Wood. So that's been a little bit of an issue for you. And for the Atlanta Braves, ever since they've had Alex Verdugo return to the fold, this has been a team that has been much better in terms of their overall plate approach. Austin Riley has been able to give you 8 home runs, about a 330 on base. Michael Harris just has not been able to develop ever since he had that great rookie season. 250 on base with 3 home runs. You just need more out of him. And though you're not getting the same amount of power as you did from Marcell Ozuna a season ago with just 5 home runs, 420 on base out of him. Nick Allen at the bottom of the fold along to Eli White have been very solid. I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression, but Drake Baldwin is hitting a 300 as well. I do think that they do a nice job here being able to get to Irvin, who he's got a 3.92 ERA, but that fielding dependence north of 5. He has been doing an okay job, giving up only about 2.6, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, but 1.7 bombs allowed per 9 innings. He's only getting 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. I do think that the Atlanta Braves are going to be able to strike on him hard. I did set my total at 8.8. Would personally rather have the 8.5 over rather than the 9 under with the way that the Braves are trending northward with regards to their bats, and I'm willing to lay the run line of the Braves, willing to go up to a minus 107 there. 957, 958 on the betting board. The Chicago Cubs are going to be playing us to the Miami Marlins. Cal Quantrill is on the bump for the fish, and you've got Colin Ray saying it parade to another start for the Cubs, and Cubs who find themselves between minus 230 to minus 250 favorites, and between plus $2 to plus 210 is that number on Miami with the total of 8. The over is minus 120, and the under is even, and I did set my total at an 8.2. If you're looking at the Wrigley Field win situation, by the way, it doesn't appear to be very demonstrative either way. As of right now, you're probably going to be getting a lot more directional wins. It's going to be blowing in a little bit more towards the back half of the game, so you do want to be noting that. But that said, I don't think that it's going to have the most profound effect in this game, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over, mainly because you have a Miami Marlins team that's playing about 2/3 of their games to the over thus far this season, and Cal Quantrill, even if the wind is blowing in for him, just has not been that great. 7.11 ERA, so he's always open to give it up runs for you. That's backed up by 492 fielding dependent, as he's given up 1.4 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings. Strikeout stuff has not necessarily been that great. And for Colin Ray, I do think that there's going to be a little bit of regression here. Colin Ray, not necessarily the Mona Lisa Vito of being able to get swings and misses, 2.43 ERA, 3.02 fielding dependent, only about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has also allowed 2 home runs in 29 and 2/3 innings. We did see him in that last start against the San Francisco Giants, end up giving up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, so that was a little bit less than amazing. That was the game where the Giants were able to win that game by like 9 runs. That was one of the most insane things ever, but for the Cubs, you do have to have a little bit of trepidation in terms of this bullpen. Porter Hodge, who was very good in this bullpen last season, just has not been the same guy as far this season. You've had Brad Keller be able to step up in the bullpen along Gavin Hollowell. Both of these guys have been able to give you a sub-2 ERA, so a little bit of credit where it is due there, but still, it is a case where you are dealing with a bunch of guys that are currently on the injured list, as I know that they're going to be probably without for quite a while. One of their main guys from a season ago towards the back half of the season, and Nate Pearson, so that's an issue. Eli Morgan is currently on the injured list as well, and Ryan Presley just has not been good for the team thus far this season. Julian Merriweather is starting to regress with regards to that bullpen a little bit as well. But for the Miami Marlins, you've got Anthony Bender, who's been able to do a nice job, give you a sub-3.5 ERA, but what are you going to be able to get out of the rest of the bullpen? Ronnie Enriquez has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. I like what he's been able to bring to the table, but still, you got a lot of guys with some shakiness. George Soriano is posting up well north of a 5 ERA over the last 2 seasons. Like Bakar has seen quite a bit of regression as well. Asu Sunoco is nobody reliable, and for the Miami Marlins, you'll be able to get a pair of guys in Kyle Stowers along with Matt Mervis to be able to give you 7 home runs apiece, but outside that, not really a lot of power. I will say Agustin Ramirez in his first 65 at-bats, 4 bombs, being able to hit about a 260 has been solid, and do have a few guys who are able to move the line for this team. Dave Myers has been hitting well above a 300. Xavier Edwards has been a little bit up and down, but still a 340 on base. He hit for a cycle last season as well, but that said, I do think that for the Chicago Cubs, they're going to be able to take you to the Miami Marlins here. Most places do not have a run line price up just because you do have a lot of places that have yet to be able to post up a total, but the places that do have a run line up, right now you're seeing the Chicago Cubs right in that neighborhood, about a -110, and I'd be willing to lay that. I'm willing to go up to a -116, and at an 8 or less, I'm in on the over 8.5 or higher, the under 959, 960 on the betting board. The Arizona Diamondbacks at the road, they're facing off against the San Francisco Giants. Justin Verlander goes for the Giants, and Merrill Kelly is on the bump for the Snakes, and with the Diamondbacks, they are anywhere between -102 to -105 favorites, and between -108 to -115 is that number on San Francisco. 7.5 to 8 is the total, as the 8 has under juice of -112, and the over is -108. Meanwhile, on the 7.5, over is between -115 to -120, and the under is anywhere between even a -105. And when it comes to San Francisco, I did set them at a -109, so -108 or better, I'm going to be willing to dive in on that money line for Justin Verlander. He hasn't been quite the same this season. 450 ERA, 445 fielding dependent. His whiffs have just not been there the way that they have been in the past, as he's only getting about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But for Merrill Kelly, he's always had his issues on the road. Like this season, he's got a 409 ERA overall. That jumps 431 on the road. And if you want to take a look at his career, 325 home ERA with a little bit less than a home run allowed per 9 innings, 447 ERA on the road, nearly 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings. And for the San Francisco Giants, you've had quite a few guys do a nice job moving the line. You've got Jung-Ho Lee, who's been able to turn near 300 for this unit. I recognize that Matt Chapman's batting average is not necessarily the world's greatest, but if you look at the on-base percentage and the overall power, 8 home runs, 360 on base, that's been pretty rock solid. William Adames starting to pick it up a little bit more as well. You've had Wilmer Flores do a nice job of being able to supply the team with 7 bombs, so his average, not the greatest, but Mike Yastrzemski makes up for it, 375 on base. Lowy Jr. hitting a $145, and Patrick Bailey below a 190 has been a little bit of an issue, but you still have quite a few guys that are doing a nice job being able to reach base. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, since the beginning of the 2024 season, they're in the top 2 in terms of run creation. Corbin Carroll and Eugenio Suarez both have been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers, and for Corbin Carroll, he's been able to give you a 350 on base after he was so rough last season. You got Josh Naylor, Geraldo Perdomo, both hitting just below 300, Pavin Smith just above a 300 with about a 440 on base. Randall Grichuk has had a little bit of a rough start to the season, but now you're getting back Ketel Marte when a limited sample size has been able to give you 400 on base. Now for the Diamondbacks, this team does rank in the bottom 12 in the big leagues in terms of opening area, having AJ Puck the fold has been really hurting the team, but you've got Jalen Beeks along Shelby Miller, who've been able to give you a sub-2.25 ERA. Justin Martinez dealing with a little bit of an injury as well, and that's big because he's been able to supply a sub-3 ERA, but Juan Murillo has been able to give you some relatively good production in that bullpen, but unfortunately they face off against a San Francisco Giants team that has been a top 5 team with regards to their bullpen, as you've got so many guys that are mixing and matching. Emilio Duvall after last year, he was not himself. He has been able to return to form. You've got Randy Rodriguez, who's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. I like what Eric Miller brings to the table. Spencer Bivens is able to give you multiple innings and be relatively effective with that regard as well. So for Merrill Kelly, I do think that the road struggles continue. I do think that the Giants jump on him here. I recognize that it's a pitcher-friendly ballpark, but some I tell it at 8.2. I think that both veterans struggle. So looking at the over and the money line up to a minus 108 with the Giants. 9, 11, 9, 12 on the betting board. It is the Detroit Tigers. They are going to be playing us the Boston Red Sox. Tanner Houck goes for the Sox, and you've got Jackson Jobe on the bump for Detroit. Detroit does find themselves anywhere between minus 109 to minus 115, and between even money to minus 105 is that number on Boston. 8.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115, and for the Detroit Tigers, set them at a minus 142. I do like them on the money line. For Boston, it's just been up, down, all around for them thus far this season, and for Tanner Houck, it's been a really less than savory season for him. He is posting up north of a 6 ERA. Now the fielding independent is nearly a point lower, and for Tanner Houck, he's actually got a career ERA that's lower on the road rather than at home, but that said, he's still been giving up 1.7 home runs per 9 innings. Now, much of his numbers have been warped by the fact that he gave up the 12 runs against the Tampa Bay Rays a little bit earlier in the season, so if you tried to look at this year's home and road splits, well, not so great to say the least, but that said, it just has been a case where ever since he made the All-Star team last season, Tanner Houck has not necessarily been the same pitcher, and for Jackson Jobe, he is going through the school of hard knocks as of right now. For Mr. Jackson Jobe, he is posting up an ERA that's right around about a 4.85, that fielding independent of 5.65. That's been a little bit rough for him. He's been only able to get about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings and is giving up right around 5 walks per 9 innings as well, so that's very much less than tremendous, but this is a Detroit Tigers team that does rank at the top 3 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, and for the Boston Red Sox, it's not like it's the world's worst bullpen, but at the same time, you do have to have a little bit of question mark with this bullpen, as you've actually had Liam Hendricks come off of just an incredible story, and he's been able to give the team some good innings thus far. Brendan Bernardino has been rock solid, but when Aroldis Chapman is your closer, I recognize that he's got good numbers thus far this season. You just never know what you're going to be getting there. I do like Garrett Woodlock as a little bit of a long guy, but for the Detroit Tigers, this team does a really good job of being able to mix and match in that bullpen, as Brian Herter is one of those guys that's able to give you multiple innings, and then just have so many guys that will be able to provide an ERA of a 3 or lower, like a Will Vest when he's been out there, John Brebby as he's dealing with injury, Tommy Canley, Brendan Hennefy. These guys have all been very rock solid for them, and for the Detroit Tigers, this team does rank in the top 3 in the American League in terms of runs per game. You got Spencer Torkelson, Riley Green combining for 19 home runs, and Torkelson's up to about a 350 or so on base. Zach McKinstry's moving the line with about a 370 on base. Javi Baez, after he was useless for so long, he's hitting a 300. Gleyber Torres is moving the line. Dylan Dingler's moving the line. So you've got a lot of guys that are just rock solid in this lineup. Trey Sweeney, after a rough start to the season, he's been able to do a solid job as well. And then for the Boston Red Sox, ever since Rafael Devers refused to play first base, his bat has really been working. So I guess he's trying to prove his worth here. He's now been able to give you a 398 on base after he in the first 6-7 games of the season was absolutely awful. You've had Alex Bregman be able to supply about a 385 on base. He's up to 9 home runs, and Weiler Abreu is up to 10 home runs this season. Jaron Duran down with power, but still finding way on base, hitting about a 250. Tris Casas being out for the season, I really don't think hurts this team, as he was not good when he was out there. You are getting a bit more out of Christian Campbell, Sadane Rafaela as well in terms of being able to move line. So it does lead to a little bit of an interesting scenario, because Detroit is very much a pitcher's ballpark, and I do think that Tanner Houck sees a little bit of positivity here himself, but I do think that with this Tigers bullpen being able to mix and match, I do think that they're going to do a nice job here of holding down a Boston team that over the weekend did get a little bit more hot. I think that they cool down here, set my number at a minus 142, so I do like Detroit on the money line, and I'm going to be in on this total. Under 913, 914 on the betting board. The Kansas City Royals are going to be on the road facing off against the Houston Astros, as Ryan Gusto is on the bump for Houston, and Michael Wacha, and if he has a rough start, it becomes a dying backman voice of Michael Waka 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 Waka. He goes for the Kansas City Royals, and the Royals would find themselves anywhere between even money to a plus 104. Meanwhile, between minus 114 to minus 120 is that number on Houston. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105, and on the 8, the over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105, and with gusto and the Astros. I did set them at a minus 122. I'm going to be willing to lay the money line. I've actually really liked what I've seen out of Ryan Gusto this season. He began his season in the bullpen, and he sort of went from being a starter to being a reliever, back to being a starter. So it's been a little bit, shall we say, touch and go in terms of this. But I mean, when he's been a starter, he's been able to give you 5+ good innings. He's right now posting up a 341 fielding independent with good strikeout stuff. 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up fewer than 3 walks per 9. So I really like what he's able to bring to the table. And then on the flip side, you do have a guy, Michael Wacha, where it has been a case where it's been a little bit up and down for him, as he's been able to give you about 7 or so strikeouts per 9 innings. The walks have been up a little bit to about 2.8 walks per 9 innings, 2.98 ERA, 312 fielding independent, as he's done a really good job of inducing soft contact, only giving up 2 home runs in 45+ innings thus far this season, and he does now get to face off against a Kansas City Royals team that has been in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of overall run creation. Do have Vinny Pasquantino, who's been able to give you 6 home runs, but just a 266 on base. Pair of guys, Miguel Garcia, Bobby Witt Jr. hitting above a 300. Witt Jr., you just expect a little bit more than 5 home runs at this portion of the season, though, so he's been a little bit down with that regard. Jonathan India, only hitting a 225 with 1 home run, has been unexpectedly bad for this team, but you've got Kyle Isbell, Drew Waters, both hitting in that neighborhood about a 270. Bottom of fold has been rough, and Salvador Perez just has not been himself thus far this season, but it's not like the Houston Astros have been the Mona Lisa Vitos of hitting themselves, as you've got currently Yordan Alvarez on the injured list. Jake Myers has actually done a really good job of moving the line, getting on base. And Jeremy Pena both hitting above a 285. With Pena, he's been leading the way with 5 home runs, as you've got Christian Walker, Isaac Paredes, Osael Altuve, all being able to supply the team with 4 home runs this season, along with Yanier Diaz, but Diaz just does not get on base with a 267 on base. You've had Christian Walker have his ups and downs all season long, but for the Astros, this is a top 6 team with regards to bullpen ERA as well. This despite the fact that Taylor Scott has seen quite a bit of regression from a season ago, but the Bryans, Brian King, Brian Abreu, both of these guys are supplying sub-2 ERA. Josh Hader has been very good in the back half of that bullpen. Steven Okert has made 16 appearances. He's posting up a sub-150 ERA, so these guys have been able to come through in drove. But for the Kansas City Royals, this is also a top 8 team with regards to their own bullpen ERA, as you've had Lucas Erceg, Carlos Aceves form a really nice 8th and 9th inning duo. Additionally, Daniel Lynch has been a good long guy in this bullpen. You've been able to get some relatively good production out of Steven Cruz. I don't believe has allowed a run thus far this season, so it makes it a very interesting scenario. I did sell my total at an 8.2. I do think that both of these starters give up a little bit of something, but being able to get this 8.5, I like the under, and I'm willing to lay up to a minus 122 on this money line of the Houston Astros. 9:15, 9:16 on the betting board. The New York Yankees are on the road against the Seattle Mariners. Emerson Hancock is on the bump for Seattle, and you've got Clark Schmidt on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees are a minus 130 favorite, plus 110 to plus 117 is that number on Seattle. 8.5 is the total, with the over and the under both at minus 110, and I did set my total at 7.8. I'm going to be willing to dive in on the under for Seattle. This is a ballpark that really does do a nice job of being able to suppress offense, so I think that is going to be a very big key. And for Emerson Hancock, he has been rough to say the least this far this season, but I do believe that he's going to be able to come into his own. I just have such a belief in the Seattle Mariners and the way that they coach up their pitchers. That's not even funny. We've seen so many guys like Logan Gilbert and company come up to the big league level and have all sorts of production, and for Hancock, he had that really rough start to begin the season against the Tigers. He gives up 6 runs, doesn't make it out of the first inning. Ever since then, he has won 5+ innings in every one of his last 4 starts, 6+ in each out of the last 3, giving up either 2 or 3 runs in every one of them. Not necessarily going to blow you away with his swing and miss stuff, only about 6.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's only allowing about a home run per 9, 2.7 walks per 9 innings as well. So he's been able to come into his own, and Clark Schmidt is about as average of a pitcher as it's going to get. He's not amazing, he's not terrible. For his career, exactly a 4 ERA, and for his career, 8.9 strikeouts, 3.2 walks per 9 innings, with 1.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Those are about league average numbers thus far this season. 4.79 ERA compared to a 4.62 fielding independent. So he's relatively on his way there. And for the New York Yankees, obviously this has been a fearsome lineup that is number 1 in the American League in terms of runs per game. But I do think that offense, once again, going to be a little bit more surprised here. I do think that for as great as Aaron Judge is, 14 home runs with a 4.94 on base, we're going to see a little bit of regression here. I'm not saying it's going to be a ton, but I do think that we're going to see a little bit of regression there. That said, the other guys are going to be able to eat as well, because they're going to be pitching around Aaron Judge. Anthony Volpe has had a little bit of a rough go of it ever since that first week or so of the season, but so he's able to move the line, give you about a 320 on base. Ben Rice has seen a little bit of regression himself, but 9 home runs, 370 on base. You're not going to complain about that. Trent Grisham, 10 home runs in his first 100 bats of the season, north of 365 on base, has been rock solid. And though Paul Goldschmidt's power numbers are down, he's still been able to give you about a 400 on base. And this has been a Yankees team that's been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Devin Williams has been absolutely terrible, and we have seen Ian Hamilton not necessarily give you the production that you're liking, but that said, you still have had the likes of a Tim Hill be able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA. Fernando Cruz has been rock solid. I love what Luke Weaver has been able to do in this bullpen all season long, and it looks like they might be getting a little bit of something of Yuri De Los Santos as well. And then for the Seattle Mariners, this has been about a league average bullpen this season with a great closer in Andres Munoz, who's able to lock it down, but you've got a few, shall we say, shorter guys in Gabe Spire, Casey Lugumina, who've been rock solid, but then when you get into the likes of Gregory Santos, who's been injured over the last 2 seasons, Edward Bazardo, Carlos Vargas, these guys become very much a roll of the dice. And for Seattle, I don't know how sustainable the offense is after it was so hit or miss last season. Cal Raleigh has been able to give you 12 home runs with a 370 on base. Julio Rodriguez starting to pick it up after one of his patented slow starts to the season, but I mean, all of a sudden, Roy Polanco, 375 on base with 9 home runs. Still Moore has been able to give you 7 home runs. Rowdy Tella is not hitting for average, but he's hitting for 6 home runs as well. Bottom of the full with the likes of Donovan Solano and company, still leaving a little bit of something to be desired, but if you can get just a hair above a plus 110, and when it's all said and done, I'm seeing a plus 117, I would be willing to take that on the Mariners money line. I'd be looking there as I need at least a plus 112 to take a shot on Seattle, and with this total, I set mine at a 7.8, so I'm looking at the under. 917, 918 on the betting board. The Milwaukee Brewers are on the road facing off against the Cleveland Guardians. Ben Lively is on the bump for Cleveland. Freddie Peralta is on the bump for Milwaukee, and Milwaukee does find themselves anywhere between minus 127 to a minus 135 favorite, and between plus 114 to a plus 118 is that number on Cleveland, with 8 being your total. The over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And for the Brewers, I did set my money line price at a minus 146, so I'm going to be willing to lay it. And with Freddie Peralta, he has been able to do a really good job of just coming in there and giving you strikeouts all throughout his career. Like, I don't think that he's had a single season where he has given out less than 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. As a matter of fact, his 9.5 strikeouts is set to be a career low for him. He's never been below 9.9. He's been able to reduce on the walks a little bit, giving you just 3 walks per 9 innings. Now, fielding independence, a 349 compared to that 218 ERA, so you do have to have a little bit of caution there, but he's given up just 5 runs over the course of his last 4 starts, and now they get the Cleveland Guardians coming off of Sunday Night Baseball, albeit the Guardians did not have to travel after Sunday Night Baseball, but that's still a little bit of an issue. And for the Cleveland Guardians, we have seen quite a bit of regression in terms of that bullpen, as well as Emmanuel Clase has just went straight down the tubes as far this season. Now, Hunter Gaddis has been really good in that bullpen. He's supplying a sub-1 ERA. You still have Kate Smith, Tim Aaron, pair of guys who are going to give you a sub-320 ERA, but you see Joey Cantillo over the weekend give up a bunch of runs. That's a little bit of an issue for the team. Paul Sewald is currently on the injured list, so they're looking to mix and match a little bit there. And then for this Cleveland Guardians lineup, Kyle Manzardo enters into Sunday Night Baseball, 9 home runs, but not really doing a great job with the line. It's been a top-heavy lineup with Carlos Santana, not necessarily giving you a ton, 321 on base with 4 home runs. You expect a little bit more there. Gabriel Arias along with Jose Ramirez, both of these guys have been able to do a solid job of moving the line. Arias has been able to give you a 270 average, more like a 285 out of Jose Ramirez. He's been able to slug out 6 home runs this season. Stephen Kwan has been able to hit above a 325 for the team as well, but you got a lot of guys at the bottom of the lineup there just giving you a big giant nothing burger, as you've had Nolan Jones, Brian Rocchio, John Kenzie, Noel, laying below that Mendoza line 200. Austin Hedges is a dead bat whenever they give him catcher spots for Bo Naylor. And then on the flip side for the Milwaukee Brewers, this has been a top 8 team in the National League with regards to runs per game, as you've been able to get a lot of production out of Jackson Chourio along Christian Yelich from the power department. You've got both of these guys give you 7 home runs, but both of these guys, they sub 305 on base, and Christian Yelich not really hitting for any sort of average. William Contreras is starting to pick it up. He's up to about a 350 on base, and Rhys Hoskins, power has been down, but he has been able to give you about a 380 on base. The slugging percentage is still relatively solid for him, so even though he's not hitting homers, he's still giving you quite a few doubles. The biggest thing for the team is guys like Oliver Dunn, Vinny Capra, the guys like a Caleb Duran in the infield. They just have given you a big giant nothing burger as well. And for the Brewers, this has been one of the worst bullpens in the National League this season, despite the fact that in terms of ERA last season in the National League, they were number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA, and they bring back darn near everyone. Yo Payamps, Elvis Figueroa, Jared Koenig, Trevor McGill. These are all the guys that are back, and their best reliever this year has actually been Abner Uribe, who's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. He was missing throughout much of the year last year, so I find that to be very intriguing. I do think that there should be a little bit of positivity on that front, and for Ben Lively, it has been very hit or miss for him over the last season or two. As for Mr. Ben Lively, this is a man that has been able to do a solid job in terms of being able to find the plate, not give out a lot of walks, but he has been given out ever since joining the Cleveland Guardians, about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, just a 3.46 ERA this season, but a 4.58 fielding independent. I do think that he is going to be starting to experience a little bit of negativity, as he has given up either 4 runs or 1 run or fewer in each out of his last 5 starts. It's went 4-0, 4-0, and 1, so he's been up, down, all around there. I do think that the Brewers are going to be able to find a way to be able to get to him in this spot, so I did set my total at an 8.3. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on this total over, and for the Brewers, I did set them at a minus 146, so I'm going to be willing to lay that money line. 969, 970 on the betting board. The Colorado Rockies sit there, they're facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers. Tyler Mahle is on the bump for the Rangers. You've got Chase Dollander on the bump for Colorado. 8.5 is the total. Overs between minus 115 to minus 120. Unders between even to minus 105 for Texas. They're between minus 270 to minus 290 favorites. And anywhere between plus 230 to plus 245 is that number on Colorado. And for Colorado, I need at least a plus 302 to take a shot here. If you're looking at that run line of the Texas Rangers right around about a minus 135 to a minus 140, I'd be willing to go up to a minus 154. I mean, congratulations to the Colorado Rockies on winning a game yesterday. They've won 2 road games thus far this season, and out of their 33 losses, 30 of them have come by multiple runs, and Dollander, he has given out north of a 70 ERA. This guy has been getting banged around like a piñata all season long, as this is a man that is currently giving up 2.6 home runs and 4.2 walks per 9 innings. It is going to take him quite a bit of time to be able to get acclimated to the big league level, and he's backed up by one of the worst bullpens that you're going to find in all of baseball. Jimmy Ergett has actually been able to give you a few okay innings. Anel Shavili is proven to be a relatively solid long guy because it's been trial by fire. They've had no options other than to give him a whole bunch of innings because it's been so rough for the rest of that bullpen. And for the Colorado Rockies are right now averaging 2.2 runs per game away from home. 2.2. Like, my gosh. This is just absolutely deplorable. They can their manager in Bud Black. I mean, typically you get like an interim manager / coach bump, but I don't know if there's any sort of bump to be had with this team, as Ryan McMahon away from home is hitting a $147. Michael Toglia away from home, 0.97. You've had 11 home runs in 19 games away from home, with having Hunter Goodman be able to hit 4 of those home runs, so yay verily there. Jordan Beck has actually been able to give you a 317 on base away from home, so congratulations to him, but this team is all sorts of rough. And for the Texas Rangers, this is a unit that they're in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of runs per game as well, but I believe that they're too good to be held down for this long. You've got Corey Seager back after he missed a little bit of time with an injury, as he and Wyatt Langford have been able to give you 6 home runs. Langford has given you about a 350 on base, and Seager's hitting at 300. Now you need Marcus Semien, Jake Berger, along with Jock Peterson, who are all hitting below the middle line 200 without a lot of power to be able to pick it up. Adolis Garcia just has not hit for average over the last few seasons in general as well. I do think that these guys are doing for a little bit of positivity. And then for this Rangers bullpen, it's not necessarily amazing, but Tyler Mahle actually has been a sub 150 ERA now. Not getting a lot of swings and misses, only about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. The fielding independence more than a full point higher than the ERA, despite the fact that he is allowing about 0.4 home runs per 9 innings. But I do think that these guys are able to mix and match in the bullpen, like a Hobie Milner, Sean Armstrong. These guys give you a sub 325 ERA throwing the Robert Garcia are going to be able to do the job, especially against the Colorado Rockies team that, again, really, really rough to say the least. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 154 on that run line, and did somebody tell it at 8.2. I don't think that the Rockies do their part with this total, so looking under and at the Rangers run line, and we have things up with 921, 922 on the betting board. Los Angeles Angels sit there facing off against the San Diego Padres. Michael King hopes to be the king for the Padres, and Yusei Kikuchi, I say he's starting for the Angels, and the Angels do find themselves between plus 185 to plus 190 underdogs, and between minus 210 to a minus 220. It's that number on San Diego with a total of 7. The over is minus 120. The under is even. If you're looking to lay a run half with the Padres, you're going to be fine that right in the neighborhood about even money to plus 105, and I'd be willing to go up to a minus 108 for Yusei Kikuchi. It's been a very rough start to the season for him. He's got just a 3.83 ERA, but the fielding independence is a 4.61. He's allowing 1.3 home runs and 4.3 walks per 9 innings. Just has been really inaccurate ever since he got to the Angels, and I do like this total over because you've got an Angels bullpen that's just absolutely rough. Right now, dead last in the American League in ERA, hovering right around about a 6.80. It might even be as bad as a 6.99 depending upon the results of Sunday, but I mean, for the Los Angeles Angels, there's nobody trustworthy in that bullpen. Even Kenley Jansen is very prone to poop in the bed for the team as well. Ryan Zephyrian, I guess, has been able to give you a few okay innings, but Brock and Roll Burke is up to a north of 5 ERA. Ryan Johnson has given you a big giant nothing burger. Michael Darrell Hicks, he has been getting just absolutely slapped, so that's not great. And for the LA Angels, they're currently without Mike Trout, but they still do have plenty of home run hitters, as you've got Logan Hoppe, Taylor Ward combining for 17 home runs, and Hoppe has been able to hit about a 265, but these home run hitters are not necessarily hitting for the world's greatest amount of average. Maurice Soler has been a little bit in and out of the lineup the last few days. Should be good to go. 6 home runs. He's been able to give you about a 300 on base, but I mean, Taylor Ward, Kyron Paris, a combined 14 home runs, but both of these guys giving you a sub 285 on base percentage. Zach Neto has been able to give you a little bit of something. Nolan Schunel, he's moving the line a tad as well, but and it's really rough for the team, to say the least. And then for the San Diego Padres, you now have Jackson Merrill back in the lineup for a team that is in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of runs per game. Manny Machado's only giving you 3 home runs, but he's hitting well north for 300. Tatis, about a 390 on base. He's been able to supply 9 home runs. Gavin Sheets has given you a 360 on base with 5 home runs. You've had a few other guys be able to step up and be able to give you some good at-bats, like Luis Reyes, who he was out for a little bit of time after that collision on Sunday Night Baseball. He's out, but able at about a 290, so he's returning back to form as well. And for the San Diego Padres, this is a top 5 team in the big leagues with regards to their own bullpen ERA. Got so many guys who are able to give you multiple innings, like Michael Jacob, Adriano Morejon, or give you a sub 3.5 ERA. And then Jason Adam has been rock solid since the beginning of last season with a sub 2 ERA. Robert Suarez has been locked down as well. So I do think that this should be some pretty solid domination against an Angels team that, I mean, it's been rough for them thus far this season. I saw my total at 7.7. Do think that Michael King going to be able to go out there and be a king for this team, as he's getting about 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 222 ERA, closer to about a 320 fielding dependent, as his home runs per 9 rate is right around about a 0.8. He's been giving up 3 walks per 9 innings, but should be able to persevere against an Angels team that's having a tough time hitting for average right now. So looking at that run line of the Padres and the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSIN family podcast. Big thanks to Ben Wilson here at VSIN for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways to be able to listen. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter. So as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like here on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season on this podcast. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.